Hello and welcome to Shelf Life. I'm your host, Kimberly Dykeman. I'm glad you got a chance to join us today. Every segment, we get a chance to bring you the real people behind some of the best literature that's hitting the shelves. And you get a chance to hear their real purpose and real perspective as to why these books are relevant and just what you need to see and hear. Now, today, the book I'm going to feature is called The Unseen War, Winning the Fight for Life. And it is for Christians and seekers alike that are burnt out, looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of life and want something to uplift them. The author is a physician, a provider. He's the founder of Knight Vision Ministries and will totally uplift you. Please welcome David Kortje.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks.
Thank you for joining me. I'm so jazzed to have you here. You've got this winning smile, by the way.
Thank you.
So I want to dive into this book, but I first want to give you a chance to say who this is really for and why is this going to really pull them up by their bootstraps and make them feel like each day is going to get a little bit better.
Right. Yeah, I think most of us, if we're honest, realize that life's challenging. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff coming at us all the time. And I think in the midst of that challenge, sometimes we get confused. We start wondering why, what's it all about? Mm-hmm. And so we're left with kind of either this resignation of just give up or this drive of just make it happen. Mm-hmm. Well, I believe there's something much deeper happening in our lives. I believe there's an enemy that is determined to destroy us. And that enemy is one that's aggravating so much of what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So what the Unseen War is designed to do is to offer people an opportunity to look into that realm and figure out how do we fight that battle.
Now, when you started writing this book, you've got an interesting story because you were knee-deep in a few of your own battles. So tell us about how this came about.
Yeah.
And that bathroom floor.
The bathroom floor, yeah. About 2 years ago, I was pretty well burned out. Mm-hmm. And I'd had some significant issues happen in my life. I'd lost a son to cancer. And it had some ministries that had kind of collapsed around me that I'd been involved in, and then eventually my marriage almost split up. And so I'm laying in bed in October 2006, and I can't fall asleep. I've actually fallen asleep. I've woken up. It's 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I tried the counting the sheep thing. That doesn't work. And finally, I decided to ask God, what do you have for me? Do you have something to say? Mm-hmm. And this sounds weird, I'm sure. It's totally crazy, but...
Hey, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have thought, okay, something woke me up too, or somebody was talking to me.
Yeah, and so I found myself getting out of bed, and I sat down on my bathroom floor with a notebook. And God laid out for me, I believe, 14 chapter topics for a book.
It's almost as if now that we're aware of God in our lives, we're more aware of all the stuff that's going on around us. So yeah, essentially the first thing that you've really given folks with this book is some sort of vision and this discernment of, okay, this is what's going on. This is truly a battle. Am I right?
Yeah, it is a battle. I think we need to, first of all, recognize that we have an enemy, mm-hmm. that there is someone out there who hates us. One of my favorite movies is The Matrix. I think it's the gospel for our generation. Mm-hmm. And what I love about The Matrix is that we've got this picture of this man, Thomas Anderson, right? He's this computer programmer, and he's kind of stuck in this geek world. Mm-hmm. And he thinks he's okay with it, but he's not really sure. But he understands that it consists of this solid stuff around him. And he meets Morpheus. And Morpheus explains to him there's much more than just what you see around you. And so he offers him an option. He says, you can take the blue pill, and you can go back to your dreamland and just assume everything's okay.
Which isn't so lovely still. It's kind
of so lovely.
Anesthetic, right?
Or you can take the red pill, and I can show you what's really happening. And I think that's what we as Christians get to do. We get to take the red pill. We get to say, I want to know what the whole thing is, what the whole story is.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is that you are actually telling folks that the devil or Satan or this enemy isn't just a little character that's red and he's got a pitchfork and he's laughing at you. You make it sound like this is a force. And if people can actually attach to that, do you think that they'll actually get the whole big picture?
Yeah, I think so. Most of us, we have a couple of choices. We can decide to just ignore the reality of the world around us. Mm-hmm. Or we can decide to listen to who we are and decide that this is something that we're caught into. Mm-hmm. Again, if we take the Matrix analogy, okay, one of the best scenes in that first movie was when Neo's in the subway with the agent, Agent Smith. And they're fighting. I mean, it's incredible. There's great fight scenes. They're doing these backflips, you know, and shooting the guns in the air and all that cool stuff.
We all wanted to be Neo in that scene.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to do that. I want to do that. But the thing that struck me about that scene is that no matter how well Neo was trained, he had learned all the arts. He'd learned everything. No matter how well he was trained, it just never was enough.
Right.
He just kept coming up against an enemy that was stronger than he was. And finally, we're at that last section where he's laying in front of that train coming at him. And the agent's sitting on top of him. And he says, "Do you hear that, Mr. Anderson?" He's talking about the train coming. He says, "That is the sound of inevitability." He says, "That is the sound of your future, of your death." And he's laying there, and he's hearing that coming. And we've all heard that, right? I mean, that's our story.
Right.
Okay? It's inevitable. You will never succeed as a father, as a mother, or as a whatever.
You're not good enough. You're not doing this. Right.
You're just never going to succeed. And it's at that point that he quits being Thomas Anderson. He says those famous words. He says, "My name is Neil." He realized that there's something much more to him than just what he sees. There's something much deeper and much truer about him than that. And so he leaps out of the way. He wins the battle. There's still more battles to come, but he wins the battle. And that's what we as Christians get to do. We get to understand who we are in Christ, and we get to step out of the way of that train.
Which is like saying, if you can say, "I am Neo," you can say, "I'm a Christian," and look at all the things that I've chosen and that I'm gifted with. And you almost give people another vision, which is, if you see the battle and you know who you are as a Christian, these are the tools that you've been armed with. You go into detail as to how we can then say, "All right, I'm ready for this battle."
Yeah, absolutely, Kimberly. I mean, I think about half of the unseen war talking about how do we fight this thing. What does that look like? Because it's important that we figure out what to do next. There's a lot of examples, and the one that stands out to me is just the issue of faith. We need faith to win. The Bible tells us that we need this shield of faith. Well, if you look at a shield is forged. It's forged out of something strong and something that's real and something that's protective. It moves with the warrior into the hottest parts of the battle. And so Paul tells us that shield extinguishes the flaming arrows of the evil one. But the fact of the matter is that in order to have a strong shield, it has to be forged, which is to say that we need to be in the midst of the battle.
Right.
The faith doesn't come as someone else tells us we have faith. You can't tell me, "David, you need to have more faith."
Yeah.
Okay? I can't read a book that says I need to have more faith. I need to be in the midst of that battle, using that shield of faith, taking a few arrows, getting a few scars on it, and realize that it's getting stronger. I think that's why James wrote, "Consider it all joy when you encounter trials of various kinds." It's not that it's fun. It's not that we're supposed to be, "Oh, yeah, it's great. It's bad life."
But it's confirmation. Yeah,
it's
my
forging.
faith is building more faith.
Yeah, it's forging my shield. It's forging my faith.
The book, The Unseen War, is a tool to get out there, but you've actually got a larger message that you do through Knight Vision Ministries.
Yes. Knight Vision Ministries was set up about just a year ago now. And since then, we've had incredible opportunities to go and speak to a couple of national organizations, to a church. And what we do is we basically present this message in a conference setting. We also have a blog where myself and another author contribute just different thoughts and ideas on this battle. We're setting up a forum that will give people opportunity to kind of interact with us and interact with each other, so that we can learn what it means to fight this battle for life together.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate that. And for more information on any and all of this, people can go to knightvisionministries.com?
knightvisionministries.com with K.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait for the next one. I devoured this one, that's for sure.
Okay.
Thank you again, and thank you, folks, for joining us on Shelf Life. I'm Kimberly Dykeman. This has been David Kortje, and we are so jazzed that you joined us this time, and we will see you again real soon.